Welcome, friends, and thank you for tuning into the Optimal Health Program. Hope you're doing well. I want to chat about a variety of different things today, and I've always enjoyed the fact that people will either call in or text in, email, etc., with lots of different questions. We talk about all sorts of things, so we want to cover a great deal of ground. Today, and within the next couple of programs, we're going to be touching base, as we always do, on medical literature. But I wanted to talk about chemicals in foods, as we had spoken about a while back, a couple of months ago, because I think that's dramatically changing the landscape of health in our environment. And of course, we know about red dye number 40 being problematic, but if you start to look at all the different things that we're exposed to, and there are commonly 7 harmful chemicals in plastics, these chemicals can damage your thought process, create anxiety, depression. In some people could correlate with violent outbursts. They affect your fertility, your ability to have a normal sperm count, testosterone count, female hormones. And this may be the settings behind what's happening as a more broad picture in this country, where we see that testosterone levels in young men have dropped so low over the past 20, 30, 40 years, it's changing our ability to reproduce or to have normal, healthy function and to have children. And the same, with women, great deal more miscarriages occurring now. And in light of what's happened and has been happening for a while with people that seem to be unreasonable in their ability to have normal conversation or normal interaction with other individuals, with a lot of radical activity that's going on, I think that it may correlate directly with the things that we're exposed to damaging us from the inside out. So be curious as to see what your thoughts are about this. Of course, come prepared with some cool research. We've been talking about bisphenols, and these are things in plastics, obviously, that we can be exposed to through a variety of different ways. Food, beverage containers, usable or reusable water bottles, lining of food cans, medical, sports equipment, eyeglass lenses, thermal paper receipts, plastic water pipes, etc. And the health impacts here, and this comes from, I think, NIH, National Library of Medicine, talking about brain development and behavioral changes, anxiety, depression, hyperactivity, inattention, behavioral problems, reproductive outcomes, polycystic ovary disease, irregular menstrual cycles, reduced fertility, risk of diabetes, sexual dysfunction in men, breast, prostate, ovarian, and endocrine cancers. Alkyl phenols, another category, usually found in latex paints, pesticides, cleaners, detergents, etc. They affect reproductive function, infertility, low sperm count. Phthalates, also found in a variety of different products, cleaners, children's toys. Phthalates reduce testosterone and estrogen levels, block thyroid action, have been identified as reproductive toxicants, perfluorinated compounds. The list goes on and on and on. Dioxin, people have heard about that. So a lot of what may be happening to the population is that changes are occurring in the way that we think and react and feel and function, and of course with our fertility because of these chemicals. When I first heard that RFK Jr. was going to battle against the chemicals and the red dyes and such, I said, this is a genius idea. This is something we've needed forever. And I've always maintained that the chemical companies are killing us either slowly or rapidly. Companies that make pesticide spray to kill the weeds in and around your property that correlate with cancer, they're still on the shelves in some of the stores. I've seen this, and I just don't understand why they're still there. I think even though that the parent company is paying billions of dollars in fines and losing court battles, they're making so much money that they keep throwing this stuff out there. So it's sort of a call to action, and I think, thank God, it's about time that we start looking at exposure to these things and start to get them out of the picture, get them out of our exposure. We've spoken about foods in Europe have very few components. Here, the same foods may have 10 or 15 different chemicals in them to make them look or taste better, but it's all damaging our health in a variety of ways. And I think educated people, and I like to create interest in people to read and learn. Educated people are dangerous for the bad guys because the education of learning about these things and wanting to avoid them and get them out of your diet, get them out of your home, get them out of your personal environment makes all the sense in the world. So changes have to be made.
Got a question here. Someone wants to know, they've been worrying about bottled water and all these different poisonous things with plastic in it. They want to know, should they be concerned with their bed sheets? And they said that they've recently gotten linen sheets to try to avoid the plastics, but it seems the comfy stuff always has some woven in plastic.
I would avoid as much of the plastic as possible. I haven't seen a study that said sheets that have some component X% of plastic are going to be at risk for you, but that's a great question. And that's what every day, tends to make me want to think about things, get on the computer and look for that. Look for these articles, look for as much as I can, and be able to make, intelligent, educated comments on it. So I think you have to look at everything you have in your house. I think you have to look at your water, get a triple reverse osmosis filtration system on the water coming into your home if you can. Bottled water, Mountain Valley spring water comes in glass bottles. That makes a great deal of sense. Get rid of the chemicals. Do a whole, take a pad and go from the A to Z in your house and look at all the things that you might want to change. Foods, pots, pans, plastics, look, learn, and start to make some changes. I think it makes a great deal of sense.
We got another guy who said that they stopped going to Starbucks and Dunkin' because of the heat compound of heating up the paper cups and the plastic surrounding it. And they want to know, why doesn't the FDA or another agency inspect or regulate which plastic cups or lids are legally allowed to come in contact with hot liquids? I'm understanding that hot liquids are releasing thousands or millions of microplastics. Any comment on that?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. There's a huge conversation on microplastics, and this has been happening over the past couple of years. We take it for granted that a plastic cup or plastic this or that or a plastic container, you could heat up things in it and pop it into the microwave and such. But with the research coming out lately, I don't think it's a good idea. Paper would tend to be safer. I wouldn't wrap foods with aluminum foil or wrap foods with plastic. I just wouldn't use the plastics. Stay as far away from you as you can, and don't put anything plastic into a microwave, because that's creating that particulate vibration with the microwave, and that may be increasing what your body's going to be exposed to. Better off with glass.
The crowd they're surprised that you have a microwave, Doc. They're saying, I thought you would have thrown that out long ago.
Comes at every house, but I haven't thrown it out because it would leave a big hole. Actually, I did have one over the cooktop, and I took that out. And now I just have shelves with olive oil from all over the world on it and balsamic vinegar. So nice little.
There we go.
But yeah, I wouldn't do any of that. Get rid of as much of the plastic as you can.
Say, you're better than that, Doc. People are just wondering the regulations. Is anything going to happen?
Well, it's just, you got to start to look and see and watch and support the people that are doing this, research. Support RFK Jr. Never before have there been questions and studies talking about this. So this is a great new wave that's rising against the chemical companies. So will something happen? I'm sure it will. But remember, this is the first sort of surge against what has been going on unchecked for many, many years. So people should, as a groundswelling, get involved and start looking at literature, start looking at research. Pull people together that have similar concerns as you. And I know some people that have taken it to the PTA boards and talking about schools and trying to change some of this so that the school lunches would be healthier. And, we never really ate school lunch. My mom would always give us food to have. And the joke, and when I got to medical school, because I was still living at home for the first year of 6 months of medical school, my mom would pack me a brown bag lunch. Some moms will make a little brown bag, small brown bag lunch. My mom would give me it was a giant brown bag, that you'd get at the supermarket for, putting all your food in and you get a bunch of bags, and there was so much food in there. My friends were looking at me like, I can't believe that your brown bag lunch is like 4 meals. But, it was just food to have throughout the course of the day. But, yeah, I think you're better off knowing what you're putting into your brown bag and keeping your food as safe as you can. Bring your own food to work. No reason why I couldn't. And I have people who drive all over the place who work for different driving companies and Uber and this and that and truckers. And I tell them, get a cooler and put your food into the cooler, and just have your food there, your own food, as opposed to having to go to get some quick fast food, so you're keeping that fast food, going to this restaurant, that restaurant for fast food doesn't make sense. You're not helping your body.
Someone just said, isn't it just incredible to watch RFK and Trump actually talk about things that we would never see possible 10 years ago? I watched a documentary talking about vaccines like 8 years ago, and it was scrubbed from the internet. I was unable to send it to anyone, and now it just seems like the veil is being lifted.
Absolutely. This is something we needed for a very, very, very long time. CDC, and everyone's heard because it's been all over the place, covered up the fact that the hepatitis B shot given at birth, which is completely unnecessary, creates an 1,153% increased risk of autism. So why is it done? No one can explain why that is pushed and recommended or why it has to be done. And again, look at the Amish people. They don't do the injections and they don't have autism. This is not sort of a jokey thing to throw out there. It's a fact. So now we have to take a look at the people who have been in positions to tell us this is the fact and say, hey, wait a second, and we're going to question that, which we ultimately have the right to do and should be doing and should have been doing for many years. And doctors and people who are questioning it, and many, many parents, mothers and fathers who are questioning all of this for many years, who are ridiculed and, called names and such, it's going to be shown that they were right all along.
Someone wants to know if you've seen all these idiots that are ODing on Tylenol just to make a point.
Now, I've heard of stupid things in my life and sad and unfortunate things in my life, but I don't even know how to put this. There are people that are just maybe psychologically not terribly stable, and they get an idea and they run with that idea, and they don't take a second, like other people might, who would be a little bit more psychologically stable, and say, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Let me think about this. Let me brew on it for a moment. Let me just look and research, and let me just check this out. But for a pregnant woman to take Tylenol when the company itself said you shouldn't take it over years, that information was there, just to spite the president or a politician or someone who's looking out to help people to take a ton of Tylenol and now be on death's door from liver failure? I just don't understand that. And you have a baby. Isn't the most important thing when you're pregnant to have the best foods in your diet, the best activity, exercise, organic, no junk food, just to be as healthy as you can for the baby? Why are you having a baby if you're not thinking about this in advance? I'm going to have the best diet. I'm going to have the best exercise. I'm going to do the best for my baby. And what are they proving? What I don't know what would be in a person's mind that would say, I'm going to do this for what? For what end? What outcome?
And someone mentioned in the chat, that it was a Harvard study. Harvard's plenty liberal.
Yeah. But the studies have shown that. There are certain foods they don't want you to have when you're pregnant. There are certain meds not to have. And you're told not to eat fish because of the mercury in the fish and not to do this or that, but you're allowed to be pregnant and get an injection that has aluminum mercury. You're allowed to have your baby it's so wrong. And I feel horrible, and someone was talking about the father called frantically for poison control or something because his wife decided to take it. I don't know if she filmed herself or something, but there are people filming themselves pregnant, taking pills. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, we all think of each other, people in society, as having a reasonable thought process, reasonable ability to know what's right, what's wrong, do what's right, do what's wrong. But there are people out there who do not think like we do. And for a lot of people, we just don't get that. But there are people who do not think like we do. And there are people that are pathologic, and there are people that are psychopathic, and there are people that are in all different spectrums of psychological behavior. And
someone just said, they seem to have loved RFK when he was a liberal and he was suing all of these poisonous companies out of existence.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. But there are people who just don't think that second thought. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Is it because their thought process is focused on the immediate, or some sort of brain chemical positive stimulus they get from having a negative or a nasty thought, and they carry that through, and that's okay? I don't know. You know, I can't pretend to be someone who knows everything about psychology, psychiatry, and, you know, human nature and brain function and why a person would do one thing compared to another. I just don't, I don't understand it, but I know that there are people that have absolutely no second thought. They don't care. And they could kill a dog or a cat or something bizarre or a person, and they have no remorse over it. They just don't. That's just not, you know, within their brain.
Got another one here. How do you balance as a doctor the risks and benefits when older drugs like Tylenol have decades of use, but also some conflicting data?
Well, remember, it's not everyone who takes a drug is going to have every bad side effect. The only comments that have been made, and appropriately so, because of this brilliant, you know, new foray and research into what's happening with the massive numbers, overwhelming numbers of young children who have autism, is that literature had said that taking Tylenol while pregnant poses a risk. It's not with every single person. It's not 100% of the time, every time you take it, but if there's some risk, women should know and not take it. That's what this comment was meant to be, and that's what doctors have said. I'm not saying that no one can take Tylenol. I'm not saying that a woman, after she's pregnant and delivers, couldn't take a Tylenol for some, you know, discomfort and such. The idea was that let's put out a good comment for women to be safe, and hey, you know what, you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. That's a good, positive thing. And people are just distorting it because they just don't like the political, you know, affiliation of the president and the secretary. You know, it's uncanny. When I was a kid, there was really no autism. There was no such concept. And then as you started to see time march on, and all of a sudden, the injectables became so large in number, and multiple injections at the same time. And of course, there have been a lot of comments about not having placebo-controlled safety studies and not having informed consent or appropriate informed consent, where the injectables were given and given and given and over and over and over again. And now we see statistically that the numbers have gone completely out of control. 1 in 21, I think the numbers have come to.
1 in 13 for boys.
Yeah, and in California has the highest rates. Why would you try to think, oh, it's got to be something else? It's got to be genetic. Genetic things don't happen across all backgrounds in the population, you know, all at once. So why is it taboo to look at or to go against, you know, what every parent who has a child on the spectrum has said contributed to their change and their decline?
Someone saying, I think me and you may have had a conversation about this, but they just said that they feel like this is just cracking open the door to much more regarding vaccines and other things for our children, the Tylenol. This is just
exactly. I think that was part of the first comment because it's an easy comment. Literature says this, Harvard says this, it's supported. Hey, you know what? Just don't take it while you're pregnant. That's all. We're not kind of trying to control your life or force you in any way, shape, or form, in any other way, in any realm of life. Hey, if you're pregnant, just, don't take it. Because this is what we found. And the manufacturers of Tylenol said the same thing. So that's a nice first step. And I agree with that. And now looking at the entirety of this, and knowing full well that, the Amish people just don't have this disorder within their population, it becomes more and more obvious. How do you deny that? Well, let's not look at that. Let's try to find something else. That's what I think's been going on. So.
This is a good question right here. They want to know if you think that a federal mandate for schools to get rid of the vaccine mandate.
Florida just did that.
Through.
I just saw that happening in Florida.
Oh, wow.
So they're stopping the mandate. They're stopping COVID mandate for kids, injectables, et cetera. So it's going to happen. Enough people are seeing fact and truth now, so they're going to start to pressure the powers that be and the politicians to look into it, and researchers look into it. That's what we have to do. Let the buyer beware. And there are interesting comments. Would a parent allow multiple injectables if they knew exactly what was in the injectable? No.
No way.
Aborted fetal cells, blah, 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 aluminum, mercury. So the whole issue of informed consent, every time those things are done, is a concern.
Pretty good there. Crazy.
Love my new Charlie Kirk mug.
Oh, wait. I got to get rid of the graphic. Yeah.
Let's zoom in on the Charlie Kirk mug.
Hold. Ah, hey.
There we go.
That's great.
Yep. So, of course, I ordered a couple of mugs, hats, polo shirt. I'm worried about my polo shirt because apparently it's coming from Spain. And it may not be big enough. And I got an XL, but normally, like American XL, I'm good. But I may have to have a double or triple XL.
I've had that. I've had that problem a couple times. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like, wait a second. I have to give it away to somebody. Yeah, and this whole thing, I don't like being duped or tricked, or I don't like the manipulation of fact and truth, and I don't like the whole thing that happened to him, and it's just both infuriating and heartbreaking. It's just something that people should never let go of, and they're not. I mean, and look at all the people worldwide that are having these wonderful tributes and memorials to him, sort of waking up or reawakening their values and reawakening their understanding of how a man should be with a woman, and how, people should respect each other, and all of this, and how religion should play an important role in your life, etc. And millions of people, and you can see this worldwide. I've mentioned it before. There are places all over the world, New Zealand, South Korea, doing, vigils and such. I'm going to say something that I think is going to be absolutely true, that I think Charlie's going to become that martyr who brings more people back to God and church and good values and family values and all the wonderful things he spoke about than anybody in our history. And there have been wonderful people in our history. And there have been people who've been killed for whatever bizarre reason someone had. You can go back to Caesar, look at Lincoln, JFK, Martin Luther King, RFK. Look at all the people that have been assassinated for someone's bizarre reason that were doing good things. So I think that if this had to happen, and I'm not sure, what God's plan was or is, and maybe this is part of bringing millions and many, many millions going forward of people back to family and home and good values and God. And as Erica carries through, that will just expand it. As Michael Knowles, who I think is terrific, and a lot of the other individuals, and Candace Owens keeps digging, which I think she's a terrific investigative journalist, and Megyn Kelly goes out and speaks the great things and the great words and great feelings, we can get more and more people to feel this way. I think it's important because all we're seeing is nonsense and evil and horrible things occurring throughout the world. It's just too much horrible stuff going on. So I think to have these wonderful words and speakers come out is something that we've also needed for an extremely long time. I can't avoid talking about what I think happened, with the assassination, because it's glaringly obvious to me that there are more people involved, and it's a very big cover-up, and it may be, according to what some people, including Candace Owens, has commented on, and a lot of digging that people are doing. We deserve to know the truth and the facts, so I don't believe this kid is the one who did it. I think that there are no pictures of him with the rifle, and there are pictures of another kid on the closed circuit TV on the stairways walking through the school, and that's not this kid, Tyler. It's a kid named Sky. It's just too convenient that...
I have an update for you that just came through.
Really?
Ready for this?
Yeah.
So the TMZ video, it was like a Ring doorbell from a roof.
Yeah.
They have him. This is him walking towards campus. Well, apparently the person who sent that footage in, she actually reached out to Candace, and she said, "I have the full video for you." And what they cut out was Tyler Robinson walking, but there was a woman with him.
Oh, wow.
Walking. This just came out. I'm just looking at it.
Wow. All right. So more information to dig up. So there's no pictures of him with a gun. And it's odd when you see the videos of the shot being fired, you can't shoot something and then stand up a split second later, dismantle a gun and run away. That's what the narrative was. So you're seeing the shot fired, people duck, and the person that's directly across from him is already moving and running away. Number one, you can't dismantle that weapon unless you're a gunsmith, and a screwdriver is not going to dismantle that. That's a lie. Let's also say that a round that's that powerful, a .30-06, if it hits below the clavicle, above the clavicle, soft tissue, it'll go right through. There's nothing but soft tissue there for that massively powerful projectile to go right through and then project and have debris hit the back of the paper and the stuff that was behind him. I've told people and patients that ask me about this, and I said, go online and look at a .30-06 round, bullet hitting something, hitting wood, hitting gel. There was one where they have a gel mock-up of what the human head and shoulders would be like, and, it's obliterated. The cavitation, which is the shock wave from that size round, would have been a massive event. So it's not possible that weapon did that. But that's the weapon that fits whatever narrative comes next. You can't take that down, put it down your pants, because you couldn't bend your leg if a 46-inch, rifle is down your pant leg. You couldn't jump off the roof with the way that was done. And also the video jumping off the roof and then walking or sometimes running through the parking lot, there's no people there. How do you have so many thousands of people running away from what happened and no one going to their cars in the parking lot? It doesn't make any sense to me. You don't have any crime scene tape put around the crime scene for anybody to evaluate what happened. Where's the bullet? Where's everything else that you'd expect to see? Why did someone go take the camera down? And who is that person? And then in a video, see that, and then see that person take the SD cards out of the camera. What is that all about? So there's no...
The pavement they're talking about.
Yeah. They ripped out the grass, ripped out anything that could be evidence. And who at the school said, oh, let's rip it out quick and, pave it? That makes no sense at all. No CSI whatsoever. The words on the text seem to be so manipulated, but what young kid says vehicle? You say car, ride, whatever, and all the comments in there don't make any sense. It's just full of, holes. Now, if you want to hide a rifle and you say that someone would break it down, put it in a pack, which it wouldn't fit, get it up there to the roof. There's no videos of the rifle. There's no pictures of the rifle. There's nothing showing sticking out of the pack. You put that rifle back together on the roof, which there's no video of that. Whenever you disassemble a rifle and put it back together, you have to resight it in so that you would have some level of accuracy with that barrel connected to the sight.
And imagine the adrenaline.
Yeah. And then, so there's no chance to sight that in, and everybody who's a sportsman or a hunter or whatever else would know that. And then, after doing the shot, and the person gets up and runs, you take the rifle apart and leave a screwdriver on the roof, and then run, jump off the roof, put the rifle back together, and put it in the woods? Why would you put it back together? It makes no sense whatsoever. There's just no common sense with this. It's just completely, absolutely false. And they want you to think that this is what happened. You know, it's the JFK thing and RFK all over again.
So our chat's loving this, by the way, and I'm getting breaking news from the chat. I'm confirming. And they're saying, you know, Anna Paulina Luna, she's one of the congresswomen. She just came out on Fox and said that NBC has held, this is confirmation that NBC has footage from the JFK assassination that they never released, and the video has Lee Harvey Oswald in the shot with the car.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And this just came.
Well, anybody who
yesterday.
believes that Lee Harvey Oswald did that is missing a few marbles. There are so many parts to that, and I could do a whole program on that because I've just was always fascinated by that. I've looked at everything on it, and there are so many things similarly that make no sense. And it becomes very easy once you have a nice, clear, open mind thinking of who was behind it, who could do all the stuff that happened around it, how were 40 people killed in and around that whole time specific that had connection to it, including that young lady on the woman on the What's My Line TV show who was going to do like a little expose. She was killed. That rifle could not have done it back in the day because sighting in and shooting at a car going away from you, it's just not possible. You don't aim or try to say, hey, let me get the guy when he's driving away from me. At any rate, shooting, getting rid of the shell, sighting again, which would take 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. You couldn't have 3 shots in that period of time. So that's also a big BS.
Someone in the chat saying that I trust your ballistic reports more than the FBI. That's for sure.
It's just common sense. I think and there was something you showed me the other day. I think someone from behind used a small caliber bullet. You can see something hitting or splashing towards the back behind his ear, which would have allowed the decorticate response right away, the blood to come out and create an exit wound in front that was small. So it's small caliber. That's a fact. So, yeah, I mean, there are so many things that don't make sense. To believe a really quick narrative just to get it kind of wrapped up and done. And I think the college is being pressured by some entity to get it all done and over with and, just sweep it under the rug.
I believe that entity is the FBI.
Well, same with JFK, same with RFK. And you can see both autopsy information on RFK that in front of RFK, Sirhan missed a first shot, and then someone grabbed his hand, and the roof of the ceiling of the hotel had received the rest of the shots in his gun because someone had popped his hand up, and that the killer shots came from the back at point-blank range. So either was somebody that was, behind him, whether he's wearing a uniform or not, posing as whatever. That's what these people do. They create distraction so that they can create a result, just like that guy George Zinn, who was, I'm the killer, and was flubbing around on the ground there. So that adds another whole entity of who else might have wanted this person, wanted Charlie to be out of the picture. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Crazy.
It's a shame.
And we have George Zinn. This came out last night. They've zoomed in. This is the moment the shots were taken. Check this out, Doc. That's him. He gets up and pretends to shoot as soon as it happens.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
Well, he's involved in some way. There's always somebody there to try to distract and distort. So, I mean, in 63, 65, 70, all the stupid Warren Commission, which was a joke and a half, especially because there was a bullet on the stretcher that wasn't even fired from a gun, and they were talking about that bullet having something to do with him being killed, which is more nonsense.
someone wants to know, Doc, if you've ever been in a situation where someone would, when a murdered victim was their autopsy was skipped.
No, never. Never in the history of civilization, I don't think that's ever happened. Someone's killed, you do an autopsy. Do a chest x-ray. If you think the bullet got stuck in the spine, okay, where's the x-ray? It has to be done. I mean, you can't just go in and do nothing. What did they do? What did the doctor do? And why did the doctor say a 30-06 round was stuck in Charlie's spine and he has Superman spine? Just to make some people believe, oh, wow, or to have a religious belief that, maybe that was true. It's just not possible.
Yeah. And
I tell people, look at videos online about the 30-06 bullet and what it can do.
Someone saying in our YouTube, that kid is a patsy. The bodyguard in the green shirt did it. It's on video. I don't know who did it, but it ain't that guy, Tyler Robinson.
So when people plan things, bad people, nefarious people, they have a side story to say, okay, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it from cover. No one's going to see us. We'll have 3 other different people to blame, a guy running on the roof, another guy running that way, a guy in a crowd. This is the distraction. This is how evil genius people work. And that's what's done to make people think that that's what really happened. In a world where a person could be 5 feet back from a window and have a 20 or 30-yard shot, that would make more sense. Small round with a silencer makes sense because no one would know and see, and that person could walk away and never, ever be seen or found. That's what a smart, evil person would do. And to have all the other smoke and mirrors to distract you so you have no idea what's going on. You blame a young kid. Oh, here's the gun. Oh, everything's right there. In no time. What a job they did. And this is what we know we're supposed to believe. Same thing with Kennedy, JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King. Same thing with all these people. But today, there are too many people out there, too many videos and cameras, and, you can't get away with all of this because there's so many other people watching and looking. Conspiracy theories, I think the term was created in and around the Kennedy assassination. But when people say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. No, you're smart. Why? Because look at all the conspiracy theories we've been told about that have turned true. Look at the Russia investigation, all that. Look at Comey and, Hillary and all that. But if you're an evil genius, you say, okay, this is a distraction, and here's the conspiracy theory that we're going to make so people will have the conspiracy theory and it'll take away from the reality of what was done so it looks like it's, bogus. We'll confuse people. That's what they do. If you're trying to do something evil, you'd be stupid not to create a conspiracy theory and the distraction at the same time. And they're not stupid. They do it in a way that, works for them.
Someone said, I know you're a doctor, but what are your thoughts on a possible foreign entity dealing with this?
Well, I can only tell you what there is some evidence of from Charlie's meeting in Southampton and Charlie's texts and emails to other people, including Candace, so it's entirely possible. You can't rule that out. You have to kind of think of who stands to gain from this sort of thing, but you can't rule it out. I'm not going to say names or areas or countries or whatever, but this wasn't a young kid. This was a coordinated military-type execution made to look like, a young kid with no evidence really for that young kid.
Someone said that he should become a saint.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
couldn't agree more. I don't know what the rules are exactly, how that works. 'Cause he wasn't Roman Catholic or...
I think he was becoming, according to people that knew him,
heard.
he was becoming Roman Catholic or Catholic. So, I think you have to do some miracles and things. But becoming a saint or not, I mean, it would be a wonderful idea. But the whole outcome of all of this, which the people who did this never thought would happen, is happening. You have one man engaging in really, and I've watched almost every video I think he's done, engaging in political but polite, comfortable conversation with people that didn't agree with him and just tried to talk it out with them. And in some cases he could, in some cases he couldn't. But he never belittled anybody. He never made fun of anybody. He never did anything that would warrant such hatred for him. But he was creating a massive swelling of people, and young people, thank God, that are coming back to being responsible, church-going, more reasonable, maybe more conservative, and the opposing political mechanism hated that. That's why you hear all these people, saying disparaging things about a father and a husband who was great in every way based upon what everybody that knew him close said about him. And, they created something that they had no idea would possibly happen worldwide.
The ripple.
Worldwide, millions and millions and millions of people. And this is not going to change. It's not going to stop. It's not going to go away. Millions and millions of people are, they say you wake the sleeping bear. So if there was some sort of purpose to this, again, and I sort of grapple with the whole thing, then bringing millions and millions and millions of people back to God and back to good values, etc., is an amazing thing. And I don't think you're going to find anybody in history that is bringing millions of people, back to the fold.
Someone just said that they love this X-Files-esque Dr. Chris episode.
I've been thinking about it since it happened, and we've been bouncing back and forth with it and going through the entirety of it and, try to understand it. It's just hard to understand. And everybody's talking about it all the time, every day, all my patients. And, and I've spoken to people about different things, and they weren't aware. So I thought maybe be an interesting thing for people to talk about or think about. I'm not asking you to change your view or your opinion on anything. I'm not asking you to change your political party, and people are, have the right to believe in different ways, and that's great. That's what makes, the world. But the people that go off the deep end and that are okay with what happened, I think, are drastically wrong. And I think we have to keep digging and learning and fighting and getting the information until we know exactly what happened.
And just another comment just saying an autopsy would help.
That's not going to happen. I mean, it didn't happen, so yeah, another cover-up.
It's almost like they learned something from the JFK.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
this looked a little too sketchy. Maybe we'll just skip it.
Yep. Just one more note on JFK, which I've talked about, which nobody else has talked about. If anybody's been to Dealey Plaza and you see the X in the street where he was shot, and you see Aggressy Knoll, you see the bookstore depository.
Have you been there?
Yeah. It's not that, I've been there a few times because I've gone for medical conferences, but I always had to run to go and look and make my ideas. And the 6th floor bookstore depository is high, right? Think of the trajectory of a bullet from the 6th floor depository, not traveling 500 yards, but traveling a relatively short distance down to a car.
It'd be like here.
Not that far away. The angle of that bullet is not a horizontal angle. It's a very, very sharp angle because of the height. So how could that bullet go like this and then come in this way and be able to hit Connolly? if the angle is up here. It's just not possible. So there's another thing that, most people haven't talked about, that there's a significant impossibility. So, I think it's interesting to try to solve ideas and puzzles and things, but you can only fool people so much. And I've also seen some things that they're doing sound wave analysis of what happened, in Utah, Charlie. And that's also doesn't make sense.
I did hear, the guy, Frank Turek, I believe his name is. He's one of Charlie's, best friends, and he was the one in the white cap right next to him. And his description of it after it happened was just, that shot felt so close.
Yep.
That's what he kept saying. He's like, it didn't feel like it felt like it was right in the crowd or right around us.
Also, the sound on the tape is not a large round gun. For those people who remember Las Vegas and what happened there with all that shooting, listen to those tapes. That's a big round, big bore gun. It's loud. It's wide. This was not a loud, wide, report, not a loud, wide sound on the video. It's a small bore. It was probably not more than a few feet, 20, 30 feet behind, to the side.
Someone's just saying, don't get me started with Vegas. We can go another hour.
Yeah, look, it's just people, on one hand, I don't want people to forget these things because I want people to understand what's been happening and someone's behind it, and that's what's going on. The worst thing to do and the worst thing for a martyr is to forget why that martyr was killed and who killed him, and always keep that person, in your prayers and your thoughts. Always keep that idea ongoing. If you let this get swept under the rug, then it's almost like a person, what they did with their life and great things they did and spoke about, they will have gone in vain. Now, that's not going to happen, but I think that people have to be remembered, in the appropriate way.
Yeah. And I think someone else had made a comment about this recently, but they're just saying, they're finally figuring out JFK, and we got a whole nother can of worms.
Oh, yeah. And so many years later. But, people need to understand what's going on and what's happening throughout the world. Evil forces are going to do what they do, and good people just have to be aware and, understand it and look for it. And that's why I tell people, and my friends that have kids and daughters, I said, look, you've got to travel in groups of people. You have to have some measurement of protection on you. I think you have to really be aware. It's not the same world as it was. I think you have to be super aware of your environment everywhere you go, man or woman. If you're alone, you're walking down a street, always look around, see what's going on, or maybe don't go down that street. It's got to that point. There's an app that people use in the city called Citizen.
Oh, I have that, yeah.
And a friend of mine uses that, and she lives on Bleecker Street, I think. And some days she just doesn't want to leave her place because 2 blocks to the left, 2 blocks to the right, there's a mugging or this or that. It's just, the city's not the place it used to be.
Yeah. And someone in the chat saying it's a similar feeling after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much hidden stuff going on. There are people that were let into this country with horrible intent. And the opposite side of the political world knew that because they wanted more people to vote for their agenda and for their ability to continue to take, from our hard work and earned dollars, and to throw money into USAID and for them to be able to grab it and take it and, bring it back to themselves somehow. I think that's what that whole issue was. But be smart, be aware, read, learn, look. If you don't like what you're hearing on traditional news, go to a different network. Read something elsewhere. Just keep learning and reading. Same thing for your health. Learn, read, look. Understand that we have to be more specific. And again, in part, and of course, my comment is always learn about your body, get your big blood test done, see what your vitamin levels are, your hormones. Let's correct them. We're using the concept of the vitamin pack. Once your blood test is done, we'll put you on perfect vitamin recommendations. Recheck your blood to prove that. This is all the science and the fact of getting your body healthy. Do whatever you can. Walk every day. Do the things that can create strength and health in you going forward. Don't let your body lose health over time. So we've got to empower people to get up and start doing it and making it part of your life and your lifestyle.
We got someone asking, are you going to be on LFA tomorrow? Last week was a replay. Hey, listen. Oh, hey.
Absolutely, positively will be tomorrow, yeah. And we'll chat about everything you want to chat about tomorrow. I'm sure we're going to get similar comments, and I'll get some more articles to talk about.
Yeah.
Always. And we may have a video or two we can pop on, but I'm sure we're going to have to talk a little bit about, our good buddy.
And I do have to say, just a little shout out to YouTube. You didn't pull our stream today. It's a beautiful thing. We talked about a lot today, so thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
honestly, sometimes I worry about making comments that are either opinions of other people or certain things that are proven or opinions of mine, and you worry about being blocked or censored, but it's wonderful not to be blocked or censored.
Yeah, that it is.
And in a small way, and I've always loved the idea of talking to people, and I've done that for 35 years when I was on the radio and do it in my practice every day. Was 6 days a week for 35 years. Now I'm cutting back a little bit. It's 4 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. I love engaging with people that either may have a different opinion, et cetera. And in a way, it's sort of like what Charlie was doing, but he was doing it in a much larger, wonderful, grandiose, religious, and, interpersonal realm. I'm doing my interpersonal discussions within a smaller mechanism, but I love the ability to do that. So the idea, the concept is similar.
It is.
I'm not as smart, though. And I've said that before. Because anybody who could quote without thinking every single part or process or
Quote
what's gone on in the Bible and then all economics and everything that he's talked about, I'd sit there and listen to the videos and be like, gosh, this guy's really smart.
his recall was like,
He's a genius. I mean, beyond genius to be able to get to where he was and to have all that knowledge. I know a lot of people that are smart, and I met Linus Pauling, who is one of the most brilliant people of all time, 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. But when someone can answer and then just comfortably explain to you something that in depth without a hitch, just a different brain. It's just a terrifically, terrifically superior brain to be able to do that. I can do that a little bit.
don't sell yourself short, Doc.
I can do a tiny, tiny percent of that with my life experience.
Oh, we just got a late comment that said, I just tuned in and I feel like I missed a good opportunity just by these choosing remarks. Well, hey, don't worry. We're going to be back tomorrow.
Back tomorrow. And you'll be able to watch today's show. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be up on our long list of... How many shows have we done so far?
A lot.
Yeah. So what we do, obviously, will always be there, and you can go back and look at it. But tomorrow, we'll talk about a variety of a lot of other things, too. But, my job, I think, is to stir your brain. Make you read, look, learn. Do better for yourself. Be a better version of yourself. And now, of course, I sound just like Charlie. Be a better version of the best version of yourself. Be the healthiest you can. Eat right. Get your vitamins in perfect range. Do all the good things you can for yourself and your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, etc. Parents, people around you. Educate. Education is the key. Knowledge is key. It's the most important thing in the world. So, all righty. Good stuff. I hope I didn't ramble on too much.
No, this was great, man.
So, love to see that people appreciate it. We're going to get a lot of phone calls to the office tomorrow. We're going to get a lot of emails to the website, which, of course, we'd love for you to do. I keep forgetting to talk about the website, drcalapai.com. Office number 516-794-0404. Garden City is the office. The RPM mechanism we're doing, We're sending you home with blood pressure cuffs, glucometers, smartwatches. For Medicare patients, great to track your health and your medical concerns. A lot of great stuff coming down the pike. So we'll be able to explain more and more of it. But once again, it's wonderful talking with you today. And tomorrow we'll do the same. To our big, beautiful LFA Rumble gang.
Oh, yeah.
Little Rumble. Rumble in the Bronx. Was that a movie? Rumble in the Bronx?
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
could be.
Before my time.
Little Rumble. All righty, people. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll be here live tomorrow to chat with you.
2:30.
2:30.